This meditation invites you to step into the sacred judicial place called the courts of heaven, where righteousness, mercy, and divine judgment is rendered. This is not a metaphor, nor a performance or a ritual. It is a real courtroom in the spirit realm, where matters of destiny, alignment, and justice are heard and rendered. You do not need to understand every detail of how this realm operates for this meditation to work. The courts of heaven function by spiritual law, not by intellectual mastery. What matters is your openness, your willingness, your faith, and your intuitive attention to what you see, sense, or feel as you are guided through this experience. Visions, symbols, impressions, emotions, and inner knowing are the language of this realm. Within this court, there is an adversary, an accuser, one who seeks to bring charges, claims, and legal arguments against your birthright and destiny. These accusations are not random. They are legal and illegal claims based on unresolved iniquity, unconfessed trespasses, and most significantly, unholy vows and covenants that have not yet been brought into the truth and into divine alignment. The accuser gains influence through both legal and illegal rights. It draws access from patterns and choices that have not yet been confronted or brought under divine authority. Whatever remains unaddressed becomes a point of permission, a doorway the adversary uses to press against your life, halt your purpose, and deny you your destiny. These accusations are not permitted in order to trap you, but to allow you to reach a place where the full restoration of your soul's journey can safely unfold. When these matters are brought before the court, what has been unresolved will be judged, and in this process, the destiny written for you by the Most High becomes fully released into your life, unhindered and unopposed. Within this court, you also have your advocate, your intercessor, and your high priest, Jesus, Joshua, Tomas. Regardless of your current relationship with him or understanding of his truth, his covenant speaks on your behalf if you allow. He will answer every accusation with mercy, truth, and righteousness. Where the adversary points to failure, he points to a resolution. Where the enemy cites history, he points to the destiny written by the Most High. Where the accuser demands conviction, he offers healing and lawful realignment. His advocacy is not symbolic, it is active, alive, and the governing authority within this court. As you enter this meditation, you are stepping into a place where cases are heard, records are open, hearts and intentions are examined, and verdicts are rendered and established within your earthly experience. You are stepping into a realm where the accusations of the accuser are confronted, where the Spirit of the Most High brings judgment to free and liberate you. In this courtroom, accountability, acknowledgement, and acceptance function as legal acts that remove the accuser's grounds and restores your divine alignment with the destiny that is written for you. Here, the accusations of the accuser lose their power to influence your life when they are brought into the truth before the judge of all. The legal rights the accuser once held are revoked when acknowledgement and acceptance are offered. The personal or generational cycles or curses that it exploited are broken when this truth is revealed. The covenants used against you are annulled when surrender and renunciation are spoken from the heart. The purpose of this court is not to condemn you, but to liberate you from every claim that stands against your destiny, identity, and purpose. As you continue into this meditation, you will be guided step by step through this heavenly court session. You will witness the opening of books, the examination of records, the breaking of agreements and covenants, the issuing of rulings, and the dispatching of angels to enforce the decrees of heaven. You will stand in a realm where truth prevails, mercy triumphs, and the voice of the judge of all establishes your path. Before we proceed, we must bring forth your offering, not an offering of ritual or sacrifice, but of the heart. As you stand before the unopened gates of the courts of heaven, Jesus stands at your right. Know that he receives what rises from your heart, the offering and intention of truth, the trust you bring, and he acknowledges it before the judge of all that awaits beyond these gates. He is your advocate, your counselor, and your appointed representative in these proceedings. He takes what you offer and carries it as a part of his testimony on your behalf. Let your offering be felt between you and him. Allow him to receive your truth and intentions with gentle clarity, knowing that what you share with him becomes a part of the case he presents on your behalf. For within these courts, sincerity of the heart is the offering required for lawful entry. For the judge of all weighs intention before testimony. As we enter the jurisdiction of the Most High in the courts of heaven, we enter not by presumption, but by the lawful access secured through the eternal covenant established by Jesus Joseph Thomas. By virtue of your union with his eternal priesthood after the order of Melchizedek, appointed by the Most High, your authorization to enter and appear before this court is hereby affirmed. The gates before you begin to open. Jesus remains to your right as your advocate, your counselor, and your appointed representative throughout these proceedings. With him beside you, you step forward into the courts of heaven. Walking down the central aisle, your steps are steady, your heart aligned with truth. The atmosphere is weighted with holiness and divine order. As you lift your gaze upward, you recognize the great cloud of witnesses positioned above the court, those who have gone before you, who testify to the righteousness of the Most High's divine plan. They stand in reverent silence, not judging, but bearing witness to your faithfulness of the Most High and to the justice of his will. As you continue forward, Jesus gestures for you to take your seat at the table to the left. This is your appointed place. You are safe, covered, and fully represented here. In front of you, the judge of all sits upon his throne, radiant, sovereign, and utterly just. His presence fills the chamber with authority that is both overwhelming and deeply reassuring. To his right, towering columns of books and scrolls rise in ordered ranks, each one a living record of divine truth. To his left, an endless flow of books and testimonies stand as the truth of your life. Every moment, every motive, every hidden detail held in perfect clarity before the courts. To the right of you, at the opposing table, the accusers take their place. They do not cross boundaries, they merely occupy the appointed position within the court. For this court is governed entirely by the righteousness and superiority of the judge of all. As Jesus stands as your legal representative and approaches the Most High, I will now begin speaking on your behalf. As these words are spoken, allow yourself to fully immerse yourself in whatever visions, sensations, impressions, or inner knowings that may arise. You do not need to force anything or understand every word spoken. Simply trust you are in good hands and be open to what you feel. Before these proceedings continue, I'm going to take this moment to clarify for the court the nature of the accusations embedded within the cases and the accuser that has brought forth against the one I represent today. These cases arise from unresolved iniquity, trespasses, and covenants, whether generationally or personally formed, each of which grants the accuser a legal right to contend with the one I represent's destiny and the full embodiment of their divine purpose. These matters are not hidden from the judge of all, and on behalf of the one I represent, I now request their examination and adjudication according to the authority and justice of this court. I further request that any accusation, claim, or adversarial contention be held in suspension until the books, records, and scrolls are reviewed and rendered by the judge of all. Feel the courtroom stilling, as though every voice and movement yields to the gravity of this moment. Above you, the cloud of witnesses stand in solemn affirmation. Recognize the justice of what is about to unfold. The atmosphere settles into holy silence. According to the governmental framework of divine law, I now clarify the legal matters that may stand between the one I represent and the fullness of the destiny written for them by the Most High. These are not abstract concepts. They are active legal realities that can hinder, delay, or obstruct the unfolding of your divine purpose if left unaddressed. The first is iniquity. Iniquity is the pattern of repeated wrongdoings that go against divine law. These are behaviors, reactions, and even emotional responses that keep showing up in your life no matter how hard you try to correct them. The things you find yourself doing, feeling, or reacting to in an imbalanced way, whether you realized it or not. For example, if you consistently speak harshly to yourself, put yourself down or others down, or struggle to believe you have worth, value, or purpose, that is a form of iniquity. If you unintentionally harm someone, whether by thought, by act, verbally, emotionally, mentally, or physically, that is a form of iniquity. Some of these iniquities become known as generational cycles that follow a bloodline from generation to generation. Regardless of where or how they began, by divine law, the accuser can use any iniquity as far back as 4 generations to present a case against you to hinder or halt the achievement of your destiny. A case is the recorded act the accuser names as evidence and presents as a legal claim built from patterns or choices you might make during a lifetime, that it again uses against your progress to delay the destiny appointed to you by the Most High. I want you to take a deep breath and remember this. This is not about blame or guilt or being a victim. This is an invitation to bring what remains unresolved into the light, so it can receive its final judgment and be freed from the accuser's chains that bind. Secondly, trespasses. Trespasses refer to personal choices and actions that go against divine law and boundaries set into place to maintain balance and order within human sovereignty. These are the moments when a person knowingly crosses a boundary of what they know is right. For example, if you or someone in your bloodline knowingly lied, harmed another person, or chose to ignore such wrongdoings as it was witnessed, those choices become a legal record and create cases used against you until they are acknowledged in the courts. A case involving trespasses can be formed from yourself, or it could be committed within the bloodline up to 4 generations back. The accuser will use any of these trespasses as legal right to influence and interfere with your life and the fulfillment of your destiny. As you feel this truth, let the awareness settle. You don't have to analyze everything to understand everything. Simply imagine both your own life patterns and your family's long-standing cycles being opened before the court. Not to condemn, but to resolve under heaven's authority. Lastly, covenants. Covenants refer to formal agreements, vows, alignments, decrees, or dedications made with an unholy source. This can legally bind them to the influence of that unholy source, whether made by you or your ancestors. For example, if you or an ancestor participated in a ritual, oath, decree, or dedication with a source that does not operate under divine law or the authority of the Most High, even if the nature of the agreement was not fully understood, that act became an unholy covenant. Another example is when, in a moment of pain or desperation, a person accepts or declares a falsehood about themselves. This is known as the seal of lies, such as the vow, "I don't have anyone, I do everything alone," creating a covenant of isolation, binding you to self-reliance in a way that rejects divine help, community, and alignment. Another seal of lies might sound like, "I trust no one but myself," forming a covenant of distrust that chains the heart and establishes a legal agreement rooted in fear and self-protection. Whenever a lie is embraced as truth, it becomes a binding, unholy covenant the accuser can use as legal ground. Such covenants remain in effect until they are brought before the courts, renounced, and annulled. They are not governed by the 4-generational rule, and they persist indefinitely until broken by the judge of all. Feel the seriousness of these unholy covenants being acknowledged before the court, whether known or unknown. These types of covenants can restrict access to truth, clarity, health, abundance, and ultimately deny you the full expression of the destiny the Most High has written for you to experience. I will now request the identification of your legal birthrights. I affirm before this court that these unresolved matters relating to iniquity, trespass, and covenants can and do speak against the destiny written for the one I represent by the Most High. They provide the adversary with grounds to challenge their progress, restrict their movement, and contend with the unfolding of their divine purpose. Until these matters are addressed, they may continue to deny or delay what the Most High has ordained. Therefore, I request that the Most High identify any legal rights connected to iniquity, trespass, and covenants that may still speak against the one I represent. I ask that such matters be brought into the light, examined under the Most High's jurisdiction, and judged according to the authority of the Judge of all. Take a slow, deep breath and feel yourself fully present within the courtroom of heaven. The chamber is ordered, precise, and filled with divine truth. Scrolls, books, and records line the walls like living testimonies. Nothing is hidden, nothing obscured. Allow your awareness to settle into the gravity of this moment. I speak on behalf of the one that I represent before the Judge of all and respectfully request that the books, scrolls, and records relevant to their life and to the matter at hand be opened before this court. No judicial action may proceed until the records pertaining to their destiny, bloodline, and divine intent are brought forth for examination. As these words are spoken, see ancient books being presented to the Most High, their pages illuminated with absolute truth. Sense the court receiving this submission, its authority ready to act in righteousness and truth. I now move that the books, scrolls, and records pertaining specifically to this matter be opened for full judicial inspection. I request that every entry relevant to this issue be reviewed under the authority of this court. Notice the attendants of heaven responding to this motion, bringing forward the book of destiny and placing it before the Most High for additional examination. I further request that the contents of these books, whether relating to destiny, bloodlines, covenantal history, or divine intent, be reviewed in full. Any record containing accusations, charges, or adversarial claims contrary to the will and purpose of the Most High must be legally addressed, cleansed, or dismissed according to the standards of this court. I speak on behalf of the one I represent before the Judge of all and acknowledge that any breach, transgression, misalignment, or failure that may have granted the adversary legal standing is hereby confessed and submitted into the light of judicial review. I respectfully request that the covenant of Jesus cleanse the record and nullify all grounds of accusation consistent with confession and cleansing, and the cancellation of legal charges and the removal of every ordinance that stood opposed. As these words are spoken, your acknowledgement, your acceptance, your accountability and awareness is all being received as legal act and decree. The court acknowledges it with full reverence. I speak on behalf of the one I represent before the Judge of all and hereby renounce and withdraw from any agreement, covenant, belief pattern, or alignment, whether verbal, mental, emotional, behavioral, or inherited, that empowered adversarial claims or contradicted divine truth. I acknowledge that such agreements, whether knowingly or unknowingly formed, may have granted the adversary lawful and unlawful standing to contend with the one I represent in their destiny. Therefore, I request that every covenant with falsehood, distortion, or deception be annulled and rendered indefinitely. Feel the weight of these requests rising before the Judge of all. Sense the cleansing power of Jesus' covenant being applied to every acknowledgement, every acceptance, and every accountability, removing the adversary's claims and restoring rightful standing to your birthright. As these words are spoken, the adversaries are dissolving, and every false alignment is losing its grip under the authority of the Most High. I further request that every internal agreement, belief system, or mental alignment that deviated from the divine truth be dissolved, overturned, and replaced with lawful patterns aligned with the Most High. Any vow, dedication, or unholy covenant, whether personal or generational, that bound the one I represent to any power other than the Most High is now legally severed, nullified, and removed from the adversary's access to influence. I submit that this renunciation constitutes as a legal act before this court, authorizing the dissolution of every unlawful agreement and empowering heaven to enforce what is written in the books concerning the one I represent, their identity, their purpose, and their destiny. Now I want you to take a deep breath in. And as you exhale, feel the realignment of your birthright. The court has received your renunciation. The unlawful agreements no longer stand. I ask that you stand with me now in confidence as I relay the decrees of this court's ruling. First, I decree the correction of all misalignments that diverted the one represented from divine intent. Second, I decree the restoration of all resources, opportunities, and provisions that were delayed, diverted, or withheld through accusation or breach. Third, I decree the release of all resources, assignments, and provisions ordained for the one represented today in their divine mandate. Fourth, I decree the removal of all restrictions, limitations, or constraints arising from accusations, trespass, or unlawful agreement. Fifth, I decree the activation of favor, opportunity, and provision in accordance with divine order and the written intent of the Most High. Sixth, I decree the enforcement of this court's ruling within the earthly realm, ensuring alignment and execution without hindrance. Seventh, I decree that the angels assigned to this ruling be dispatched to execute and administer this decision rendered in this court's judgment in full accordance with the written intent of the books of destiny. Eighth, I decree that the angels appointed to this matter enforce, implement, and oversee the fulfillment of this ruling within the earthly realm immediately. And ninth, I decree that they ensure nothing opposes, delays, or obstructs the fulfillment of what has been decreed in this court today. As these decrees settle, imagine the angels standing in attention, ready, willing, and empowered to carry out the ruling with perfect obedience. I speak on behalf of the one represented today before the Judge of all, and hereby move that this matter be sealed in the holy covenant of Jesus, preventing any counter-accusation, reopening, or unlawful challenge to the ruling rendered by this court. I request that this judgment be recorded in the heavenly books as a completed and sealed decision, and that its effects be manifested within the earthly realm in accordance with divine order. I request that the judgment of this court be executed upon the earth and in full alignment with the heavenly decree, respectfully submitted by the authority of the order of Melchizedek and through the eternal priesthood of Jesus Joshua Thomas. The atmosphere carries a sense of completion, authority, and irreversible divine order. Let this decree stand in the archives of heaven as an official ruling entered into the eternal record. Let it be witnessed by those appointed as lawful observers and guardians of the verdict. Let it be executed without delays, with full enforcement granted by the jurisdiction of the Most High, for it is written.